Good afternoon. Welcome or welcome back. We'll reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Lane County Commissioners for Tuesday, August 20, 2024. We start off this afternoon with a couple of items from Public Works. The first is a second reading and public hearing on ordinance number 24-07 in the matter of amending Lane Code Chapter 11 to incorporate an allowance for permitted overnight sleeping within the urban growth boundary of Eugene and to amend Lane Code 11.120 to be consistent with state law and adopting a savings and severability clause with the cited application numbers. Excuse me just a minute. Sorry, to getting myself organized here. Yes, that. So the ordinance before us is a proposal to amend Lane Code Chapter 11 that was initiated by the Land Management Division at the direction of the board on April 4th, 2023. The order of proceedings for this hearing will be first a report from staff, which will be followed by public testimony and then an opportunity for any additional comments by staff. And so I will welcome our senior planner Rachel Serslev, to walk us through this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Trieger. Before we start, I'll actually hand it back over to you and have you do disclosures of conflict of interest for the commissioners, and then I can give the staff report.
Great, thank you. Oh, I see. Thank you. All commissioners are required to disclose any potential or actual conflicts of interest that they have with the proposal before us. That means if a commissioner or one of their relatives could be financially impacted positively or negatively by the proposal, that should be disclosed for the record, followed by a statement that the commissioner can or cannot proceed. If there is an actual conflict, that must be disclosed on the record, and then the conflicted commissioner must recuse themselves and step out of the room until the public hearing has concluded. So I will ask each commissioner one by one to disclose if they have any conflicts of interest. Vice Chair Lovall?
None to declare.
Commissioner Buck?
None.
Commissioner Senega?
None.
And Commissioner Farr?
I have none.
Thank you all. And now I'll ask for any challenges to the commissioner's ability to participate in this public hearing. If anyone wishes to challenge a commissioner for a conflict of interest, the challenger should explain the basis for the challenges. The commissioner challenged will have an opportunity to respond and state whether they're able to proceed without an actual conflict of interest. Is there any member of the public wishing to challenge a commissioner's ability to participate in this public hearing? Tanya, anyone with a raised hand online?
Let me check. I don't see any.
Thank you. And I will now turn it over to staff. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chair Trieger, and good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, this is Rachel Serslev, staff planner. And before you is a Lane Code amendment project to allow overnight sleeping within the Eugene urban growth boundary. And this is a second reading and public hearing for ordinance number 2407. This is a code amendment project initiated by the Land Management Division at the direction of the board to allow to align codes for more temporary housing options in the city of Eugene. The proposed code amendments that are before you today are to adopt verbatim the regulations established in the city of Eugene for private property camping, and I'll generally go over those provisions. They allow sleeping in a vehicle, a camper, a trailer, or a tent on private property in either a backyard or a driveway of a property that's developed with a single-family residence. Also, this camping could occur on a vacant parcel if there's a paved and graveled area available and the camper has authorization of the property owner. And property owners who allow camping on their properties must provide sanitation facilities, garbage disposal, and a storage area for the camper's personal items. If a tent is proposed, it must be 5 feet from property lines, and the property owner is not allowed to require any payment for this overnight sleeping. The city of Eugene currently does not require a permit for this camping if it complies with all of the provisions that are in their current code and are proposed to be in Lane Code. And also there's no time limit for a duration of stay for a camper on private property. But the city has the authority to prohibit the camping at any time if they're not in compliance with regulations. The proposed code also allows for the Rest Stop program to be permitted in the urbanizable area. And the Rest Stop program is a program that allows for up to 15 people to sleep overnight at a supervised site. And that site must be one that's recommended by the city manager and approved by the city council. Again, that's something that is currently allowed within the city of Eugene, and we're including it in our code to align our code with the city of Eugene's and allow it in the urbanizable area. The proposed code, if adopted by the board today, will be administered and enforced by the city of Eugene on the behalf of the county, along with their current camping program. And so today, staff is before the board to recommend that the board adopt the code as drafted. And so far, I have not received any public comment, but there will be opportunity for that today. And that concludes my staff report. I'm available to answer any questions. And I'll also note that Ken Green, who's the code compliance supervisor at the city of Eugene, is also here in the audience and available to answer any specific questions if the board has them about these regulations. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll turn it over to the board to see if commissioners have any questions of staff. Commissioner Farr.
I don't have a question, but a comment on history. Back in 1997, I chaired the Council Committee on Homelessness and Youth. There was I was the chair, Jim Torrey, Bobby Lee, with the other councilors on that. And we wrote the original City of Eugene camping ordinance, which made some of the provisions that you just read out loud. It's evolved, and times have changed. But at the time, it was a groundbreaking ordinance. There was nothing quite like it any place in the nation, allowing for backyard and camping in business parking lots. Once again, it's evolved since then, but really it was, back then, Richie Weinman was the staff, Pearl Wolf was the staff for that, and it was brilliantly done. And because of it, other municipalities across the West and even throughout the United States adopted similar types of ordinances. And by and large, it has worked. They did used to require permitting, but evidently that's no longer necessary. So thank you for this. I'm really pleased to see this moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions from commissioners, I will now open opportunity for public testimony. We don't have anyone signed up in Harris Hall to give testimony on this ordinance and these proposed code amendments. Tanya, is there anyone online wishing to give testimony to this ordinance?
Let me check. If you are virtually attending this meeting and would like to give public comment on ordinance 2407, please raise your virtual hand. Chair, I do not see any virtual hands raised.
Great.
Return the meeting back to you.
Thank you. Then with that, I will check with staff to see if there are any additional comments. And so then I assume no further questions from the board, which means the next step would be if there is a motion to close the public hearing, I would accept that motion.
Ready to make a motion, Chair?
Please.
I move to approve the second reading, close the public hearing, and adopt ordinance number 2407, amending Lane Code Chapter 11 to incorporate an allowance for permitted overnight sleeping within the urban growth boundary of Eugene as presented.
Thank you. Let me just double check with staff because I'm seeing a different, I'm seeing an option 3, but I don't see a 1 and 2. So maybe I'm just, do we not need a third reading on the 17th?
If there are no requested changes
Okay.
to the code, then there would be no
Great, thank you.
for a third reading.
Trying to thank you so much for that, both of you. It's been moved by the vice chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to close the record and move to adopt the ordinance 24-07 as presented. This is an ordinance, so we need a roll call vote. So I'll look to the administrator to run us through that, please.
Commissioner Senega?
Yay.
Commissioner Lovall?
Aye.
Commissioner Buck?
Aye.
Commissioner Farr?
Oh, yeah.
And Commissioner Trieger.
Trieger votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all for that. Thank you, Ms. Surslev.
Thank you.
And so we move on to item 9B, and I'll welcome back our Public Works Director, Dan Hurley. And Sean Hubble, Procurement Manager, is with us as well. And this is a hearing and order number 24-08-20-11 in the matter of authorizing a construction manager, general contractor, or CMGC approach to soliciting for construction of a portion of the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility. I'll turn it over to staff to walk us through this item.
Thank you, Chair. So this is our third item of the day related to Clean Lane, the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility. And this item is to authorize us to use an alternative procurement method for bringing on a contractor to construct the facility. It's a fairly common approach called CMGC, Construction Manager General Contractor. And the concept is to bring a contractor on board before the design is complete, to coordinate better on the design, to minimize costs, to have better coordination between the design and constructability of the project, to speed up the timeline and reduce overall costs to the project. In Oregon Revised Statute, that requires the county to give a 2-week notice before, and to have a hearing before adopting the findings and approving this contracting method.
Thank you. And excuse me just a minute. I'm sorry. I just pulled up, realized I have a script for this as well, but I was not following. So pardon me. I'm going to open the public hearing. Today is Tuesday, August 20, 2024. This public hearing is on order and resolution in the matter of authorizing a construction manager, general contractor, or CMGC approach to soliciting for construction of a portion of the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility. The order and resolution before us is a proposal to approve findings and authorize an alternative procurement process known as construction manager, general contractor, or CMGC approach for soliciting for construction of a portion of the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility. The order of proceedings for this hearing will be first the report from staff, followed by public testimony, and then any additional comments by staff. The board will vote to approve or disapprove the proposal today, will not vote to approve or disapprove the proposal today due to a publication error in a trade newspaper. The board will hold the public hearing as scheduled and consider continuing the hearing. All commissioners are required to disclose any potential or actual conflicts of interest that they have with the proposal before us. This means if a commissioner or one of their relatives could be financially impacted positively or negatively by this proposal, that should be disclosed for the record, followed by a statement that the commissioner can or cannot participate in deliberations and vote on the matter. If there is an actual conflict, that must be disclosed, and then the conflicted commissioner may not participate in deliberations or vote on the matter. So I will now ask each commissioner to disclose any conflicts. Vice Chair Lovall.
None to disclose.
Commissioner Buck.
None.
Commissioner Senega.
None.
And Commissioner Farr.
I have none.
And I, Commissioner Trieger, have no conflict of interest to declare. Now I'll ask if there are any challenges to the commissioner's ability to participate in this public hearing. If anyone wishes to challenge a commissioner for a conflict of interest, the challenger should explain the basis for the challenges. The commissioner challenged will have an opportunity to respond and state whether they are able to proceed without an actual conflict of interest. Is there any member of the public wishing to challenge any commissioner's ability to participate in this public hearing? Seeing none, Tanya, anyone online?
You would like to
Present any challenge to a commissioner's ability based on conflict of interest to hear this matter?
Thank you. Please raise your virtual hand. I do not see any hands raised.
Great, thank you. Now I will turn it over to staff for the staff report. Thank you for your patience on that.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm joined by Tiffany Johnson, our Assistant County Counsel, and Sean Hubble, our Procurement Manager, who's been helping us through this project. So the policy by state statute requires public improvement contracts typically to go through a competitive process and be selected on low bid. Typically there's the design, the bid, and then the award of the bid for construction. There are exceptions, though, to follow this CMGC process that are outlined in ORS. And going back to that piece about the notice, wanted to talk about, there's a 2-week requirement in advance of the hearing We requested an advertisement in the Register Guard, which got it correct, but in the Daily Journal of Commerce, they added a line that it was an invitation to bid and put it in the wrong section. It was put into the goods and services section rather than the public hearing section. So we believe that we should renotice and continue the hearing to give another 2-week notice. The next time we can come in front of the board is September 17th. So that will be our recommendation on that. So it was no fault of Sean or staff of how that played out. It's just an error with that publication. And the state statute requires that the ad be in a trade publication of statewide circulation. So unfortunately, the Register Guard notice didn't cover that. So Lane Manual has an allowance for us to use alternative contracting methods such as this. The Board of Commissioners acts as the local contract review board to approve findings, which we've prepared in your packet, and I'll talk through an overview. And then again with this notice to allow parties to be able to comment before a decision is made. So the findings here, I'm sorry, I just realized I'm not sharing my screen, sorry. Get that going. So the findings, and I see an error there, but it's not showing up there. Uh-oh. What did I do? Try this one time. Oh, I didn't select this thing. Sorry. There we go. So the findings. Oh, the first part is around the project requirements. This project is going to require close collaboration between the county and our contractor, Bulk Handling Systems, bulk handling at Lane County, BHS Projects at Lane County LLC. I'll get this down. So, we say bulk handling and BHS, but that's the parent company. But it will require close collaboration because these are two adjoining buildings. The construction will be happening at the same time. And to make sure that we have close collaboration there to maximize coordination, and it says maximize cost, but clearly we want to minimize cost. The second piece is around the CMGC approach. Again, that's an acronym for Construction Manager General Contractor. The findings is that we would work through that standard approach, which includes, after bringing on the construction manager, settling on a guaranteed maximum price and disclosure of subcontractor bids. The third finding there is that timing is of the essence. This can help speed up the project, and it's critical that we make forward momentum on this project to be able to be in good standing on the 40% tax credit on the energy production part of this project. We are going to be able to meet the rules of starting by the end of this calendar year by bulk handling moving forward with production of the equipment. That large investment will show forward movement on that, but we need to continue in rapid order with the actual construction. So this will help us do that. Value engineering means, trying to trim down the project where you can to meet the needs, but maybe, reducing different cost approaches to lower the overall cost. We can do that in a more coordinated manner if we have the designer, the architect on board at the same time as the contractor, so they can provide input back and forth to help us with value engineering. Also minimizing change orders. Instead of putting the whole project together and putting it out, and then the contractor might have issues with how it's constructed, that can be resolved at the front end before the construction proceeds to minimize change orders and cost escalations. Encouraging competition, this approach still needs to be under a competitive process, and so we will outline that in the RFP proposals will all have the opportunity to see where the state of the design at the time that it is advertised, and everyone will be on the same playing field level to be able to bid on this project in an equitable manner where we still have competition. Clear contract requirements for awarding subcontract solicitation. We'll be adhering to all the normal rules around prevailing wage and things that are in our community benefits bidding program, and as well as state statute and our lane manual, lane code. We have to ensure that there is competitive bidding and will not result in favoritism. That's kind of addressed in the point I made earlier, and that it will yield a savings to the county. We definitely believe that not having to take this all the way to bidding documents will reduce the overall cost of the project. So those are the major findings that Sean helped us put together. If you have questions, he may be the correct person to direct those to, but I'm happy to try to entertain those as well. And if you don't have questions, then we can move into the hearing.
Thank you. Are there questions from commissioners for staff before moving into public testimony? I don't see any. We'll now invite public testimony on the proposed code amendments. We'll start with anyone signed up in Harris Hall, and then we'll see if anyone has joined us virtually. I will note there is, at this time, just one person signed up to speak in person. Sir, you also gave us testimony this morning, so just checking to see that your testimony is specific to this item before us, which is a process item around how we recruit bids for this project. It is. Well, then I would invite you to step to the podium. Kurt Offenbacher, state your name for the record. Tanya, thank you. 3 minutes.
Chair,
Yes.
if I may, if you can repeat the call to request for public comments. In the script that you were provided, it says to make comments on the proposed code change, but it's the proposed findings and alternative procurement process, the exemption from competitive bidding.
Proposed on the findings and proposed, say that again, please.
Okay, so let's,
Or could I ask Assistant County Counsel to make the declaration as a lead-in to offering opportunity for public testimony on my behalf, please?
oh, okay. The board would like to invite public testimony on the proposed findings and the construction management general contractor approach for soliciting construction for a portion of the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility exemption from competitive bidding process.
Thank you. Mr. Offenbacher, does your testimony still meet these parameters?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Then I would ask you to state your name for the record, and your time will begin.
My name's Kurt Offenbacher. Excuse me, I'm hoarse. I'm not here representing EPUD. I'm representing myself. I've got a 45-year construction career background. I'm familiar. I've been on both the owner side for CMGC. I've been on the contractor side for CMGC. The original idea was good. Where you bring a contractor on fairly early in the design, and it helps you find the best way to build it and limit the costs. I've been retired 12 years. I do not have a dog in this fight at all. I do estimate for a private company for architects, nothing to do with bidding. We compare bids again to the owner to justify. In the last few years, there's been a horrendous abuse of CMGC. So guaranteed maximum price, I understand that. But they throw everything they can at it, because if you're a contractor, you're giving a total price. So you've got the high place to start with, and it doesn't move much. And so whoever this should be a design bid build. They've had over a year. At last December, it was a 30% design. So that's probably a schematic level. Then you have design development up to through construction drawings. They've been working with a local contractor who has a huge advantage on this project. There goes the competitive nature of it. If one of the other big contractors wants to bid on it, they'll find out that the contractor they've been working with for a year has been doing that. They're not going to put their resources into a proposal. That takes a lot of time and money to prepare a proposal for CMGC. It's schedule, it's cost, it's management, it's all kinds of point system. And I think this is being proposed like, we better do something now because we haven't. This should have been done at least last spring in the process. The process is flawed. At this point, if you're going to start work in December, you pretty well better have it designed. It's a pre-engineered metal building, I'm sure. So that's easy to design. Everybody does that. So my point is, I'm kind of sad of the process of Lane County that they've gone through. Now they're backing up and saying, oh, let's do a CMGC to cover our rears. And I just don't think it's right. They should just finish the plans, let it out to bid. There's, what happens, the general contractors pick subcontractors early in the process. On the same, they'll take written proposals. They'll pick a plumber. And that plumber is on board. So then his costs start going up. So that's my point.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your public comment. Tanya, at this time, I'll turn it over to you to see if there's anyone who wishes to give public comment online.
All right, for those of you attending virtually, if you'd like to give public comment, please raise your virtual hand at this time. I do not see any virtual hands raised, so I will return the meeting back to you.
Thank you. Then that concludes public testimony on this item for today. I'll send it back to staff for any additional comments, and that may include some comments about the choice to bring this method before us. Yes? Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So it is true we are changing course with this procurement method. We had originally planned to have bulk handling build the whole facility, and then we were going to purchase a part of it. When we consulted with outside counsel on that, they felt that that could be challenged as violating public contracting law. So we've had to shift courses. So originally, bulk handling was working with Chambers Construction, and they anticipate they will still use Chamber Construction for constructing their piece of the project. But Chambers wasn't doing the design. That was subcontracted down to other firms working on the design that we will continue to work with through our design contract with Bulk Handling Systems. And it is Bulk Handling Systems, not BHS Projects at BHS Projects at Lane County LLC. And so that BHS will be the architect named, even though they're subcontracting that work to some local design firms. We still think that there is a cost savings and an important, this is a mechanism to expedite the construction, because working to develop those bid documents is a cumbersome process to get those into the correct format and, get that out to bid in that way. So we can bypass that and still have, closer coordination between the contractor and the designer as we finish up the design.
Thank you for that. Commissioners, do you have questions for staff or need additional information? Seeing none. Commissioner Seniga.
Yeah. Mr. Hurley, so where do you think where do you think the cost savings will come from?
Commissioner, I think that bidding, putting the bid documents together, I think will be the biggest piece of it. And then also just the coordination piece between the designer and the contractor. They can go back and forth as construction happens to make sure that they're moving in the fastest way they can and control costs.
So in layman's terms, almost kind of like a liaison, if you will, between the two?
That's a good way to put it, Commissioner.
So I'm just going to guess that if we're going to this point, we sense there's going to be some pretty heavy change orders coming. Then are we trying to alleviate that, or?
Commissioner, I'm not saying that we anticipate change orders. It depends on what level of finality we get the design to, and review, and that can be a really cumbersome process to get it down to the nitty-gritty design details that prevent change orders. So this process helps us try to minimize that.
Do you have a percentage of that you would like to see the design too before it was started?
I don't, Commissioner. We were, as soon as we can, I had hoped that we would be able to immediately after a decision here today, we would be able to get an RFP out within the next week to get that going. We're now going to have to wait until after the September 17th hearing, but we anticipate being able to move immediately following that to get the RFP out. So, sorry, can you go back to your question?
Well, it was, you're getting there. It was what would be a total percentage of completion on the plans before it was started?
We will probably be close to 90% on the design, but still, there's even if there's just 10%, there's a lot of review of that design to make sure that that's going to be constructible in the most efficient way possible.
You satisfied for now, Commissioner Senega? Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. It's certainly not my area of expertise, but my understanding of CMGC is it allows the client and the designer as well as the construction company to work together to find solutions to unanticipated issues. And how can you possibly anticipate all issues? So to me, it seems like a pretty innovative, a way to provide innovative responses. And ultimately, I think reports state that it ultimately reduces cost because you find solutions that otherwise you might have to back into, or that might arise without the input of all three interested parties. The client, the designer, and the construction. Is that a good summation of that?
Yes.
Once again, not my area of
I think
expertise.
that's a good summation, Commissioner. And I would just like to note that this is a very standard process for large projects. The bridge over the Willamette that ODOT constructed, that was a CMGC process.
But ODOT,
very,
a lot of
very
their
large
stuff
process.
is CMGC. I know that. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, then at this time, because of the unfortunate error on behalf of the statewide distributed trade journal, we can't take final action on this item. And so if there is a motion to hold the record open and continue the hearing, we have September 17th at 2:30 time certain carved for that. Is there a motion?
I can make that motion, Chair.
Thank you.
I move to keep the record open per order 2408-2011 and continue the hearing in the matter of authorizing a construction manager, general contractor, CMGC, and extend a second public hearing to a time certain September 17th, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve the public hearing, hold the record open, and continue the hearing to September 17, 2024 with a 2:30 p.m. time certain on Order 24-08-20-11 in the matter of authorizing a construction manager, general contractor, or CMGC approach to soliciting for construction of a portion of the Clean Lane Resource Recovery Facility. Thank you, staff, again, for your work and support and answering all our questions. It is appreciated. We now move on to item 10 on our agenda, which is 2 orders before us from Health and Human Services. I believe the first one, because there's some new items, and the second is before us as a standalone, but would ordinarily have been on our consent calendar, but for a commissioner's ability to make a declaration. So we'll first do item 10A, and you're not Eve Gray at all. Welcome, Zach. If you would please introduce yourself for the record and then walk us through the item. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach Evans, Finance Manager, Health and Human Services. So the first item today, we have 7 new contracts for your review today and 7 amendments. So on the new contract side, the first one with Peace Health, it's the Innovation Fund from the legislature, House Bill 4136, and it is funding for Peace Health to divert residents to the urgent care at the University Hospital District instead of Riverbend. And the other kind of highlights on here, I wanted to highlight the continued investment from the state of Oregon into the All-In project to develop shelters. So the OPSS acronym is Operational Support for Shelters. So it's ongoing funding that we're getting from the state to continue that work that the All-In dollars helped in our community.
That's it. Great. So this is Order 24-08-20-12, approving a number of contracts as published before us. Does staff or commissioners have any questions for staff? Then I would look for a motion.
Have a motion, Chair.
Thank you.
I move in the matter of approving contract actions per Board Order 2408-2012, inclusive of 7 proposed contracts, and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved actions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of Order 24-08-20-12 in the matter of approving contract actions with Peace Health, Oregon Taxi, Shelter Care Incorporated, Equitable Social Solutions, Addiction Counseling and Education Services, Laurel Hill Center, Instrument Northwest, Inc., Sources of Strength, Inc., and University of Oregon, and delegating authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the approved actions. Next up is Order 24-08-20-13 in the matter of approving 2 contracts with St. Vincent de Paul. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you. Did we actually vote on the prior one? Did I miss that?
We did.
Okay, I missed that. I was too intent. It was so
Relative
fast.
to this morning, we're just moving right along.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest on item 10B. It has to do with St. Vincent de Paul. I am related to the Executive Director Emeritus of St. Vincent de Paul, and therefore, since it is a financial transaction, I am going to recuse myself and head into the hallway real quick.
Thank you. So as I said, this would normally be on our consent calendar. If there's anything you want to let us know about this item, Zach, please do.
Yeah, these are, it's still the same thing with the OPSS, so we're looking for operational support for shelters and continuation of all-in investment in shelters and housing opportunities in our community.
Great. Any questions for staff from the board? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I move in the matter of approving 2 contracts with St. Vincent de Paul and delegating the authority to the county administrator or their designee to sign the agreements per Board Order 2408-2013.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Seneca. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Buck recused. And if we could let her know to come back in. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Would you mind just popping through the door and letting Commissioner Buck know we're set? Thank you. With that, we will revisit county administration from this morning to see if there are any announcements to share.
Just 2 quick updates. You did get you got a brief update from Judy Williams and Jeff Kincaid a few weeks ago about our strategic planning process. We've now posted a request for proposals on our website seeking consulting services to help support that strategic planning update effort. September 9th is the closing date for that, so we'll keep you updated on that process, but it is moving forward, and we still are on target and planning to hopefully adopt a new 2025 to 2027 Lane County strategic plan in the first quarter of 25. The other update is that we've had an open request for proposals for a consultant to assist us with the long-term vision of the Lane Event Center property. And we have received, I believe, 8 proposals, and so we're in the process of scoring those. And as we move forward, we'll bring forward an update to the board on that process. But I would anticipate in the next month or so, we'll land on a consultant there. So those are the 2 brief updates that I have for you today.
Those are great updates. Thank you. Then I will move us into the final item, which is Commissioner's business. Are there any announcements from the board this morning? Vice Chair.
Yes, Chair. Today marks the 10th anniversary of the Springfield Simpson mural. So if you have nothing to do this afternoon, we get out early, you're welcome to go take a selfie at the Simpson mural. It is the only Springfield in the series that's now in its 36th year. So it's a grand celebration maybe happening. And also, don't forget the Springfield Block Party will be September 6th on Friday. We're expecting over 10,000 people to attend. So good stuff for Springfield.
Any other announcements? Commissioner Buck.
I'll just share one. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go up to Blazer Industries, which is a manufacturing facility for modular housing up near Salem in Alms Mill with the governor, and was thoroughly impressed with the quality of the design of the homes. And if you recall, these modular homes for opportunity for home ownership in Lazy Days Mobile Home Park in Blue River in the aftermath of the Holiday Farm fire. They're starting to come offline and be ready for shipment. They're beautiful, beautiful homes. Was really pleased that the governor had the interest to come and take a peek at them. We both had a chance to speak to all their staff and was able to give my huge thanks to all the employees there. They were, Blazer is also the beneficiary, one of just a handful of businesses that are taking advantage of some state funding in order to expand housing opportunities and building modular residential homes. They had largely been commercial manufacturer of libraries, police stations, concession stands, restrooms. But in order to balance the market, they're able to now expand and do more residential homes. And this will be one of their forays of examples of modular housing, and it happens to be in Lane County. And if you ever have a chance to tour it, I would highly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Chair. Something that is of interest to Lane County, of course, is the Oregon Health Authority and Association of Oregon Counties Local Government Advisory Committee. We meet on Friday of this week. And just to an example of the agenda, on our agenda this Friday will be Ed Flick, who's the Emergency Management Director for ODHS, Dr. Sujal Hathi, who's the Director of OHA, and Ebony Clark, who's the OHA Behavioral Health Division Director. And we'll be discussing resilience hubs, wildfire response, South Coast exercise, et cetera. And it's a pretty interesting meeting that occurs that really it's designed, the LGAC is designed to be an asset to Oregon Health Authority. And they really view it as such. The agendas are developed by OHA and Association of Oregon Counties, and we touch on subjects that really otherwise would not get touched on in that type of an intimate sort of setting. So that's this coming Friday.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Well, I'll just wrap us up. It's interesting you brought up some state agencies, and Commissioner Buck brought up the governor, and you talked about resiliency hubs and talked about housing, and I will just say the actions that we took today on Clean Lane is another example of Lane County leading the way on issues that are present in every county, but we are really leading, and it is getting the attention of our state and our federal leaders, right? We are really fortunate here in Lane County to have such strong relationships with our state legislators, our governor, our federal delegation, and our ability with our incredible staff to leverage those state and federal resources like the resiliency hubs that you'll be talking about Friday and the EPA grant we received. And like projects like Ollie Court, which I don't think we've met since the groundbreaking, and Commissioners Farr and Buck and I were able to attend that. And it's just another example of bringing multiple levels of government to the table and nonprofits and other organizations. And Ollie Court is going to be 81 units of affordable low-income housing on a bus line next to a school, and it will have childcare co-located, an early learning hub co-located on the site. So it's really addressing two of the most critical issues. And that project is also getting a lot of attention from the state and our federal partners for that co-location piece in particular. So kudos all around to all of us who work so hard to build those strong relationships, and my particular appreciation to Commissioners Farr and Buck for their service on the Homes for Good board that's been doing a lot of work to bring that to fruition. And that was one of the best groundbreakings I've ever been to, if for no other reason than they had kids with little mini gold shovels and little bitty dump trucks. And
And free snow cones.
digging out the dirt. It was so awesome. So thank you for that. That was great. Are there any future board assignment requests?
I'm not prepared for the one I telegraphed earlier, but I will be bringing that up later.
Okay. Then no assignments to review. Anything else from our administrator before we adjourn for the day? Then let me bring up the read-in. That concludes our regular business for today. We do have an executive session at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and then we'll come back out into public session. So I will now read us in for tomorrow morning's executive session. The Board of County Commissioners will meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection and to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the Chief Executive Officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and ORS 192.6602I, which allows the Board of Commissioners to meet in executive session for the purposes listed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are precluded from attending. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. Members of the news media are not allowed to tape, video record, or otherwise record an executive session. Verbatim notes are prohibited. No decision will be made in executive session. We will come back out into public session after this executive session. At the sound of my gavel, we will be in recess until tomorrow morning's 9 a.m. executive session, which will be in the Board of Commissioners conference room. Thank you all.